I was going to record outside. But as you can see, it's a bit windy, it's a bit choppy, it's all coming out of the north, and it makes the lake look really lovely. Alright, so I hope you're enjoying it where you're at. So I got down below the dam. It's definitely a lot quieter back here, but there's still a lot of activity. The water is definitely coming over the tops and making itself known. Wind is something else, isn't it? Wow. Hi, my name is Aisha. Welcome to One Elder Speaks. I'm going to try to be loud today because the wind is up, but I really want to do this outside. Fall has finally come to my side of the state, so I'm glad of that. And I was kind of given direction to hit on a previous video on intuition and to expand upon it because of recent events. I was watching Dakota of Earth, a YouTuber who has a podcast called A Place for Humans. He had an interview with David Icke, and I was excited about watching that, saved it for later. He came out later and said they took it down, YouTube took it down, and he was going to take away all the references to anything regarding to, you know, the C word, COVID and Corona, and see if he could upload it and it'll stay there then, and it's not there. So I'm going to assume that that just wasn't going to fly. And in the face of what we're facing now, which is censorship on all media platforms, and a real need for those in power, the one percenters, to hold the narrative, it is especially important that we get in touch with our intuition, because this is how we're going to distinguish the truth from the bullshit. I looked over my past video on the subject, and I feel like it's pretty complete and succinct, but let's just go into it a lot more. If you're unsure of which of the many voices inside of you is actually your intuition, one place to start is here. The first and most loudest voice that I was aware of in my life was a critical companion. The critical companion for me was in the voice of my mother, and I'm sure we carried this along the DNA line, as well as in our habit patterns, basically our programs that we ran. And the critical companion says, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not going to make it, it's all going bad, people are bad, things are wrong, everything is negative with the critical companion. And that's how you know that critical companion. Now, what I did to combat my critical companion is tell myself every time I would hear those things, no, I am good enough. No, I am worthy. No, I'm all that in a bag of chips. And that was a way for me to reprogram the critical companion. I'm wondering if the critical companion can be starved to death by just actual inattention and a refusal to acknowledge the energy behind the critical companion. I can tell you this, if the voice is mean and negative, don't give that shit no energy. Don't give that shit none of your credence or time or thought. If it's mean, it's not anything you need. As an aside, and in the interest of experimentation, I wonder if persons who are experiencing audio schizophrenia and hear a lot of mean voices, like what practices they could put in place to mitigate those voices, or to make them, to render them useless by not giving them any attention, or whatever practices they'd like to put in place. I think, you know, we rely too much on the pharmaceutical companies to placate us and to dumb us down and to make us, Jesus, you know, their little automatons. And I don't know. I think that there are other things we can do to play with that critical companion, or those critical companions, and silence them, or reprogram them, or, you know, do something else. That's just, I'm not schizophrenic. I can't offer any wisdom or anything in regards to that, but I certainly would like to see that happen and get input from other people. And now, I'm never saying get off your drugs or nothing like that. You should always follow your intuition. If it says take the drugs thing, you know. Rabbit hole warning, and just as an aside, you know the pharmaceutical companies practice whatever furthers their bottom line, profit to the stockholders and to upper management. It would not profit them for you to use drugs and other therapies together and to actually get better. Their bottom line is served if you're dependent upon them for life and that you remain sick. Otherwise, they don't get paid. They will use that profit to block any attempt to self-heal and self-empower. Look to their lobbyists. Look to what bills they fight and what laws they promote. You will know them by their deeds. It's time for us as individuals to find alternative practices, overall healthy lifestyles, and spiritual practices to promote our own self-health. And again, stop feeding the demon that feeds off our misery. Second voice, the voice of reason. This to me is related to logic. I used this voice a lot as a tool because that was the only way I was ever going to get what I wanted from my mother. I had to make it sound more reasonable and more logical than what she was proposing or what was going on. Let's see. I still use that a lot, and I still hold it in high regard, logic and reason both. But over the years, you find that the world and the people in the world are not always logical, and nor should they be. You find that there are flaws sometimes in logic, and it doesn't always lead to the correct answer. And that's something I want you to understand. When you deconstruct logic and debate and that sort of thing, you find that there are places where it lacks. And that's what you just have to hold in your mind. It's good to strengthen your ability to logic and to reason, but to also understand that these are mind calisthenics. And what is missing is heart. Okay? So that's the voice of logic, reason. Third voice, and the loudest one for me, ego. Here's what my ego says. You don't know anything about your own experience. I know better. My ego is arrogant, know-it-all, pushy, dismissive. My ego has to be smarter and better than other people, which is really, yeah. So my ego has to prove this, and is truly a bully, and possibly linked to my critical companion. I'll have to deconstruct that a little bit to see what the correlations are. There's a definite hierarchy in ego. They're better than me, and I have to strive harder, or I'm better than them, and they'll have to, fight harder to reach to where I'm at. It's exhausting. That's what it is. But let's talk about the ego for a second. It's not a bad thing. Your ego, if your ego is running your existence, you're going to end up pushing everyone you love away from you, and that's not okay. But ego is meant to protect you and can do its job quite effectively if you will allow unconditional love for others and for the self to rule your ego. So before ego actually speaks through you some mean bullshit, you might run that thought through the unconditional love filter and see how to express it in a kinder, gentler, more compassionate way. Throw a little bit of mercy onto it, and then it works to protect you on all fronts. So your ego is important. You definitely want to have that in your toolbox. Now your intuition is going to be in your heart, as I've stated before. So you will need to connect with your heart and your emotions and your feelings. And this can be really difficult for a lot of reasons. The current culture discourages the connection and views it as a weakness. We're often not taught how to explore and understand our emotions. We are encouraged to repress our feelings. We are dismissed when we request assistance when delving into our emotions. When we crave true peace in our hearts, we have to go outside of the current institutions of oppression, and the structures and rules impede our journey. Their structures and rules impede our journey. So the current culture we live in is set up to keep you out of your heart and to keep you apart from being connected to your emotions, and to keep you away from unconditional love and faith in the universe. Just letting you know. One of the ways I wanted to explain that too was, in nature encourages encourages integrity, honesty, faith, courage. The current culture that we have set up encourages greed, selfishness, stepping on other people, callousness. You want to look at the beast system? The sacred versus the profane? I'm telling you. If you're plagued by fear and anxiety, which is related to not knowing what's going to come in the future, or depression and anger, which is related to being not. Oh, wow! I just popped my camera off the stand. Let me get it back on if I can. Woo, come on, Bessie. Let's do it. Oh, Lord Jesus. Well, it was cheap, guys. Okay, well, I don't need to zoom in or out. Okay, there we go, I guess. Maybe. I'll hold it. So, okay, so if you're plagued by depression or anger, and that's like looking into the past and being, unsettled, then it's difficult to connect to your heart. The current culture, feed your fears, feed your anger, anxiety, and despair. Hell, they lap that stuff up. They just love it. And, so I'm going to suggest that you try. What did I suggest that they try? Jesus. Oh, yeah. Suggest spiritual practices that you resonate to. Okay. Holy crap, this is getting more difficult. Damn my urge. Anyway, spiritual practices that you resonate to. And you will have to look outside of the profane culture to find connections to your heart. Meditation, mindfulness, chant, dance, sing, paint, any sort of art is definitely going to connect you to your heart, FYI, and to God, all at the same time. So how my path unfolded was my formative years. I grew up in the 70s in Oklahoma, in the Bible Belt. Most of the churches I were exposed to were Baptist, Southern Baptist, Assembly of God, Church of Christ, that ilk. And at that time, they seemed to have the same preaching, that we were all sinners, we need to be saved and go to heaven, and there's eternal damnation if you don't. And there was a lot of promotion of fear, to motivate people to Christ, which, seemed weird to me at the time, but I was scared, so I'd get saved every weekend, whatever was going to work. When I hit my teenage years, though, a friend of mine killed herself at the age of 14. She was obviously in despair, and those same religions were like, well, she's going to go to hell forever, and I was like, let's see, God's going to throw away an eternal soul forever in hell because she couldn't get it right in 14 small years? It's not even a drop in the bucket of the ocean of eternity. It's not even a drop. And that God sounds bananas cuckoo, definitely insane, and not the God that I'm interested in. And it was at that point that I said, my God is love. I will have no other God before me, period. And along the way, I kind of lost track of that teaching, but I'm back to it, and that's the one I'm sticking to. I went ahead and started looking at all different religions. Reincarnation really made sense to me. I definitely believe in that. That we're learning, and it's not here. We're not here for no reason, or just to be damned to eternal, whatever fires, because we can't get it right, in a short amount of time. It's just that makes zero sense to me. So I had to come up with different beliefs that went along with the idea that God is love. But when I look at nature, I am confirmed. Like I said, nature will reward integrity, honor, purpose, courage, faith, love. The current culture that we have, built and are sustaining with our energy and our resources, there ain't nothing good coming out of that, guys. Greed, division, hatred, separateness. Yeah, screw that. Commonality commonality that I found in looking at all these different religions is treat others with respect, treat your community with respect, treat your planet with respect, treat yourself with respect, love, courtesy, hospitality, compassion, and honor. You know, the truth is in what we hold in common. So intuition doesn't always present itself as a rational idea. You may normally turn right at this particular intersection, but one day it says turn left, and you're like, it'll take longer. But you go ahead and you turn left, and you run into somebody that you hadn't seen in a while and that you want to reconnect with, or you avoid an accident that would have delayed you even further. You never know, though. If you just follow your intuition with trust, it's like you get where you need to be at every given day of the moment and at time. It's really kind of cool. So Def, play with that. Listening to your intuition. Yeah. What is this? Following into building. You want to follow your, okay, so you want to build your faith in God's source universe. Build your trust. Build your faith in yourself. Build your faith in this voice. And it's a practice. All of it's a practice. Every breathing is a freaking practice, for goodness sakes. I highly recommend that you get in touch with your intuition as censorship becomes more the norm. Especially, you have to know what the truth is in your heart. You're going to have to come here for what you know to be true. And that's just period. Yeah. Let's see. Hold to your truth. And allow space to others. They're going to hold to a different truth than you are. And you're going to have to allow them space that says, I know that your truth is different from mine. I wouldn't choose your truth. But hey, I think you got this. And hold space for these people to have their own truth. And to live their own experience. Yeah. No judgments, man. Okay, so the intuition is really, really, really important. The censorship is real. The culture is toxic. Look around you. You know this. Nothing new, right? And what I'm going to be talking about next is an ayahuasca experience that I had that was truly deep. And I'm going to let y'all in it because on some level or other, we're connected anyway. You've already been with me in my experience in ayahuasca on some level. So I might as well just share it with my words and just tell everybody how that was. And give you the insights that I got. You're going to get different insights if you ever do these plant medicines yourself. And that's me holding space for your truth, you know? But I just wanted you to kind of like see the things that I saw to give you just kind of that experience. So that'll be next. There's more stuff to go. I hope you can hear me. Man, it is windy out here. We'll talk to you later. Bye.